Back in my day, there was no patches. Nor was there any DLC. You could lend discs to your friends. Yeah, nostalgia's a hell of a drug. Okay, there were some good times, but it wasn't all that good. So here are 5 games that I wish I could travel back in time to play, to relive those old days. Set in the near future of 2010, exists an MMO called The World. On your first day of playing, you're attacked by an unknown enemy, and your friend is put into a coma. What do you do? Carry on playing the game, of course, with your level 1 character and no friends. Dot Hack, more specifically Project Dot Hack, was 4 games, 4 OVAs, a prequel anime, a novel, and a sequel manga that got an adaptation into another OVA, but those events were kind of far removed from the original story. There was even an MMO in Japan for like a year or 2, but it didn't last very long. It was such a big thing, but now it feels lost to the ages, and the only part that you can't readily get is the games. You need a 20-year-old console if you can even get your hands on the games, so they're not easy to play. The games are JRPGs, where you play as Kite, trying to figure out why your friend was put into a coma, what happened to make your character model illegal, and who this mysterious girl in white is. Your investigations happen in and outside of The World, which is the MMORPG that they're playing. Along the way you're joined by several people, most notably Black Rose, whose brother was also put into a coma, so she wants to find out what happened just as much as you do. Your investigations would involve searching the forms for clues and travelling to areas that are sometimes unstable or just plain weird. You assemble your party often needing to bring specific characters for story purposes, and on the other side some characters are not always available, since it's supposed to be like an MMO and people aren't always around to game. Dot Hack was a metagame that spanned across so many different things. It was amazing, and you could take keywords from the anime or the card game, put them into the video game and find new levels. Going back and experiencing all of the clues in and out of the game would truly be fantastic. Baby, 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 baby. Okay, I'm no singer. So I haven't actually played the game, but I'd really like to. Persona 3 was a turning point for the franchise, and is a very much loved game. Being able to experience the game as it was in 2006, and then the upgraded version in 2008, would allow me to enjoy both versions of the game without one taking away from the other. A big part of the Persona franchise for me is collecting all of the Personas, and being able to do it without all the internet resources that we have today would make the experience truly different. I mean, I could still do it today without using an internet guide, but there was also the experience of chatting to people on forums about how they got certain things, or just people you know. These days when you chat to people about gaming, they've read a guide, they know everything. It's just, I miss discovering gaming a lot. It's just something we barely get to experience anymore, because guides are made before the games even come out now. And yeah, there were guides back then, but they were different, and not everyone bought them. You know, it was like, it cost money to get them back then. Now everyone has them for free. I do use the internet to help me with games all the time. Some games expect it these days, but back then that wasn't the immediate go-to. Back to Dot Hack for a second. Dot Hack started my love for MMOs, and that love for MMOs has had a huge impact on my life. Many of my best friends I've met through MMOs. I've travelled the world because of MMOs. So without Dot Hack, I may never have got into MMOs in the first place, and never have played City of Heroes. City of Heroes is a superhero MMO. You create your superhero, you pick your powers, you fight crime. And there was City of Villains too, where you could be a villain instead. But back then, I mostly played City of Heroes. My hero was always a gravity controller, who I actually made look a little bit like me would wear similar clothes to what I used to wear, because the character creator in that game was amazing. It was so good, you could even dye your skills. Yeah, your skills. MMOs back then also felt very different, before the big boom of them in like 2012. When you played an MMO, you played that MMO. You weren't playing with the goal of playing a different MMO in a few months' time. That was the game you were going to play for a long time. It meant that the interactions were more meaningful, and you would actually talk to people about the game. By 2012, the MMO space was so bloated. There was a new MMO every month, and people just kept jumping from MMO to MMO to MMO. If they were to bring back City of Heroes today, it would be a good game. But it wouldn't feel like it did back then. Back then, MMOs were just different. In May of 2016, released a hero shooter called Overwatch. You're probably thinking to yourself right now, but Overwatch is still around. And you're correct. But in the same month Overwatch released, another hero shooter also released. Battleborn. So this game's not that old, but you can't play it today. Both being hero shooters released in the same month meant the comparisons were inevitable, but they were very different games. The multiplayer modes had different styles, Battleborn taking a MOBA approach, and Overwatch taking a more Team Fortress 2 style. But the big difference for me was Battleborn had a campaign, and it was amazing. The opening cutscene of that campaign is a masterpiece. I encourage you to go watch it. It's about 6 minutes long. It's great. As you progress through the campaign, you could unlock new characters, and it was just a very fun campaign. Unfortunately, Battleborn never got the player base to keep the servers going, and the truly sad part was, even the campaign was on the servers. So now it can't be played. I dislike online single player games, particularly when they don't need to be. Battleborn didn't need to be online for its single player, in the same way that Godfall, Outriders, and several other new games don't need to be online for single player. At the start of 2021, they shut the servers down and left the game completely unplayable, with no kind of offline or peer-to-peer patch. The game was dead after 5 years, and it's a shame. Even if I were to go back to the days before I played this game, this quote would still apply. Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core tells the tale of Zack, and if you've played Final Fantasy VII, you'll be familiar with who he is. Just a quick spoiler warning, even though Final Fantasy VII is 25 years old and is available on most platforms, it's easy to get and play, so I would normally consider it outside of the realm of spoilers. But with the remake bringing new people in who never played the original, this is a spoiler. Anyway, I'll put a timestamp to skip to if you don't want to be spoiled. In Final Fantasy VII, it is revealed that Zack helped Cloud get back to Midgar before being gunned down by Shinra. So I always knew how the game was going to end, so I very much steeled myself for it. But even then, it's done in such an emotional way, it still gets me a little thinking about it. But the game is so much more than the destination. It's Zack's journey, getting to see him go from a low-ranked soldier, well, whatever. It was great. It was something that you only ever heard about in the original story. Getting to see the history of Final Fantasy VII go down from the point of view of somebody who was there was also great and enlightening. And then there's the music. The music is fantastic. I actually had one of the songs as an alarm clock for years. Crisis Core is such a big part of Final Fantasy VII that they need to do something with it before the remakes are done with. If you get a chance to play Crisis Core, do, because it makes the remakes so much more powerful. These are 5 games I would like to go back in time and play. It would be nice to play them today if there were remakes, ports, they turn the servers back on. But back then, gaming was also different as a whole. So it'd be good to experience them with a fresh mind, like I did back then.